is my Shadowverse soldiers, and welcome back to another video. First off, before I get into the video, I want to apologize to you guys because I was on a bit of leave of absence for making videos, and I'm so sorry that I was gone for you guys for as long as I was. I was moving from my studio now into my now studio into my old house, and now I'm here, so I should be making some more content. I should be here with you guys. So I do apologize for my leave of absence, but today we're doing the tier list video for October set 2 Reign of Bahmut. Let's go ahead and get into it. So the first card we have is Enbel Mysteria and the Academics line, and I'm going to tell you so far, bring this shit to locals. 100%. If I sit across from you and I see Anbel and you're playing Runecraft, I mean, I know the other cards are gonna be good, but I know as soon as I see an Anbel and it's wrapped around Anbel and Greyborn, I know I'm probably going to win because there's not enough support for Anbel right now. And I really want this deck to work because the cards look good, the alt art looks amazing. But you know, pretty much we just have to wait. That's really what it is. If your deck doesn't work right now, just wait. Do also want to give a PSA before I get into any further cards that these are just my opinions, and if I hurt your feelings, I'm so sorry. I do not mean to. You guys can feel free to comment below and see if whatever you disagree with or whatever you agree on, and we can work from there. Moving forward, we have the mid-range Abyss. I like Azazel for what he does, especially when he brings you down to 10. Because the whole point of Abyss mid-range is, especially if you're running Azazel, is that you have enough board pressure that when you drop Azazel, hopefully after Necrocharge 10, to pay him for 4 for him, and put your opponent to 10, and then you just shotgun them to death. So it's kind of like a little OTK thing, but right now there's not enough support for mid-range Abyss, so it's kind of weird when you're trying to get there. And especially there's no draw for a mid-range Abyss besides a soul conversion that requires you to have a body, so that means you have to sacrifice something. And definitely with soul dealer to remove something is nice too, but there's nothing in mid-range that you can drop and be like, okay, I'm fine getting rid of this, just soul converse it and draw 2. So your hand size is really small, so I'm gonna put it at tier 3. Mainly because it just needs some more support. Soul Dealer is a nice card and Azazel's a nice card, but it's just not where it wants to be. Next we have Aggro Abyss, and Aggro Abyss has definitely been a threat since set 1. They got even stronger, especially with the mini Soul Devil into the Demonic Hedonist. Very good play. That's 2 4 damage, especially if you're swinging into a monster. Very, very, very powerful. Set 1 Abyss has definitely been, I wouldn't say a problem, but if you don't have those cards early on to deal with those little bodies, you're getting bodied for sure, 100%. So we're gonna put set 1 Abyss into tier 1. Next we have the Crystalia Tia, or the Lily line with the token. To be honest, I don't know what besides if you're spamming her out, that's cool. But for the combo, I'm going to assume that it's going to be the little fairies. You play Fairy Circle and you combo the fairies into the combo 3 so you can get the rush token. It's very cute. It's very cute. But I do not see myself tapping 7 for a 4/4 wolf with Storm that has to die. That's a lot to commit on turn 7, especially, well, if you're running the Rose Queen line, it's very good, especially if you hit it off Rose Queen the next turn. But if you're not running that line, it's not very good. So it looks like it's more to a mid-rangey side with the tokens, especially if you're running 3 copies of her to see her. So I'm gonna put her at tier 2. She definitely has potential because Forestcraft is definitely a slept-on deck. It is. People think it's one of the weaker decks because it didn't get that very good support from the set, but I feel like even with the first set cards and then the set 2 cards, there's still some power there. So we're just gonna put her in set 2 for now. She has room to grow like the rest of every other deck. Next we have my personal favorite, D Shift. I love D Shift with a passion. I've played D Shift since the CCG when I found it the first time. But D Shift, even though I love the deck, there are some faulties that you need to get there. You need to get there. And it's very hard to get there because, you know, you're drawing, you're dealing with stuff, and you can only do that for so long before they have enough to just kill you. Especially like, take Aggro Abyss for an example. They have those little bodies. If you don't have your Angelic Snipes or your Fire Chains, if you just draw straight Merlins and Flame Destroyers, 9 times out of 10 you're losing. And it hurts. It's all in the beginning hand. It's always all in the beginning hand. And you can't really, you know, draw as much as you want to. You really, the whole thing I'm trying to get at is that you have to establish. If you establish, yeah, you get there. But if you can't establish, then you're very, very in a tight spot. It's very, very rough. So I'm gonna put D Shift at 1.5. I wish it could be tier 1. I really do wish it could be tier 1. But if you're not running any Rune Blade summoners, or, you know, stuff to get some early on pressure, it's very tough. Because if you're not, let's say you're going second, I mean, you can evolve Merlin on 4, but if you don't have anything that in the cemetery by 4 that's worthwhile to, you know, help clear the board, it's very, very rough. So that's what I think about D Shift. Next we have Discard Dragons. It's one of the newer decks. I like it very, very much. I like what it does, especially with the Trail of Light combo that everyone's been doing. Really did shoot the price up. I'm glad. Make sure you get your Trail of Lights now before they end up going up in price, in case, you know, Discard Dragons get some more. So go ahead and pick up your Trail of Lights now. My personal thoughts, it's tier 1. You definitely will see it at a regional or something like that. The big, Dracomancer's rights, but the big 7 guy that will burn you for however many cards you have in hand. I know it's Discard Dragons, but with Trail of Light and Shenlong, they're going to be drawing a whole bunch of cards. They're going to be drawing a whole bunch of cards, and they're going to be filtering through their deck, and they still have Force in that deck, so it's very powerful. Now, do I think it's better than Aggro Abyss? It's really up in the air. If Aggro Abyss can get to running, I believe that Aggro Abyss definitely can, you know, sweep the floor with this card, with any sort of dragons. That's my personal opinion. If it can get to run, but you got to remember that Aggro Abyss is the glass cannon. You know, as soon as you get to, if you punch it really hard in the stomach, it's definitely gonna fall over. That's the sad part of Aggro Abyss. But back to Discard Dragons. It's very stable. So you're definitely, if they don't deal with this amulet, they're going to be taking 2 every time you discard. And if you establish 2 of them, then it's going to be even more of a problem, because now it's 4 every time you discard 1. And that's even counting with Dragon Flute, spawning your dragon, and then Shenlong, you know, discarding a card and filtering through, and then, you know, that on top of Trail of Light. Yeah, you're definitely in a very hard position. Next we have OG Dragons, with just Forte and the Big Daddy Dragon. I believe it's still good. It is still good. It's not better than Discard Dragons though. It's not, like, you don't have as many options because you're really relying on your old set 1 cards from your, like, starter deck, those poo-poo cards that Dragon has. And I'm not saying they're complete trash, but in comparison to Discard Dragons, they aren't as strong. Not saying that it can't, you know, you can't win with it. It's just gonna be a little harder for you to get damage across sometimes, even though Forte is a card that just has no interaction at all. Don't understand that, but hey, that's a story for another day. I'm not gonna get into it. I do definitely have some qualms with Forte, but with OG Dragons, it's definitely 1.5. I'm not gonna put it at 1 because there's definitely a better way to build the deck going into discard. But yeah, the Forte version of it with the Big Daddy Dragon is still good. It's just, you know, it's just like D Shift. If you get there, you get there. If you don't, then you don't, you know? All right, moving forward, we have the Leonidas Swordcraft build. All right, personally, at first, I wasn't very educated in the Swordcraft builds when I did the budget decks. and I apologize for that because I now am a believer in Swordcraft. I believe Swordcraft to be the best deck, and I will explain to you why. So, Aggro Abyss has this, the first couple of turns of pinging you for, 2, 3, but after that, they lose. After that, they lose. They don't have anything else. Sword, on the other hand, has the Quick Blader that'll hit you for 1, the little Samurai guy that'll hit you for 2. They have Maid Gunner that's a 1/3, and then they have the Maid Princess. Like they're definitely low. They do have low bodies, but they can go into mid range, especially with what's his name, Albert, and then Leonidas. It's just the late game is just so insane. So I think Swordcraft to be the best deck because, you have the little bodies. Yeah, if you don't kill them by then, by the little bodies, that's fine. That's okay. When you get to Leonidas, that's when the problem happens. That's when, it's from the low range into mid range, and then you still have late game because your bodies are buffed by Leonidas's resolve. So, and then the fact that they get +3/+3, and the fact they can also have rush, so they can definitely deal with something with ward is ridiculous. So, Swordcraft best deck right now. Truly, my opinion right now, Swordcraft is the best deck just because it's flexibility into the early game, and then if they don't beat you in the early game, it's late game city. Like you're still in a tight spot even though you survive and establish. That's fine. Moving forward, next we have Dirt. So I've been doing some research on Dirt right now, especially with the new cards. The Red Hot Ritual is nice. It's a nice removal. It's a not Fire Chain, but it is nice removal with stack. But as far as Dirt is, I would say that you can establish and get there, but there's just so much removal in every deck. Like you can spawn the Ancient Alchemist, and getting her to stick is probably the hardest thing, because if you don't do your little guard form golems that next turn, and if you can even ping them for 6, because you have to deal with someone's board like Abysscraft or Swordcraft. I think you can really get it off in Dragoncraft, but if you're not in a really good space to spend 3 for Ancient Alchemist and then pass on your turn 3 and then 4 evolve, and that takes up most of your turn, and you can only play 1 golem on 4. It's very, very tough. So right now, I'm gonna put Dirt as in tier 2. It has the potential to be a tier 1.5. It's definitely probably a pilot diff for me because I'm still working on it. But 100% tier 2. I don't have any of the Demon Flame Mages in mind, so that's probably why I feel like it's not that good against the low bodies. But probably with Demon Flame Mages up, it'll be 1.5. But for me, personally, as how I built it and have it, it's at tier 2. Next we have in Statute Seraph Havencraft. Now, this is definitely one of the villains of the set, 100%. When they printed this card, I have been educated on the fact that you choose 2 cards. It's not just followers. I was just getting Heavenly Aegis and just, putting them both back there. But, after this cracks, if you don't kill them through either burn or normal damage before Heavenly Aegis is played, you're in for some trouble. Especially with the whole combo of giving your Heavenly Aegis ward from Guardian Sun. You're definitely in some trouble, 100%. So, and Havencraft and Statute Seraph is set 1. Tier 1. Really don't need to talk too much about it, but we can do a little bit. So the whole combo is you have to survive, and that's what Havencraft does, is just survive. It will always have the answer, no matter how you build it. Well, how most people build it, if you play correctly. You'll definitely be healing a whole bunch, and then if turn 9 happens when you have in Statute Seraph and it's on 3, if you haven't already killed him, when it goes to 4, you're not killing him that next turn, because there's no way I see you doing Let's say I'm at 5. There's no way I see you doing 15 points of damage after I've been healing for so much and probably have a ward on the field. So, they're just gonna be healing and warding up, and it's a headache just thinking about it, honestly. But yeah, it's tier 1. If you take it to locals, you probably might dominate. If you take it to a regional, I pray that your hand is nice, but you'll definitely be doing fine because you'll be surviving for the stall. The only bad thing I think about a Statute Seraph is that you have to commit it on turn 6, and if you're in a really weird place, playing it after that can be a little scary, but that's besides the point. But in Statute Seraph's tier 1. Next we have vampires. I love vampires. I like the cards for it. I want to give it tier 2. I really want to give it tier 2. But right now, anything else besides Aggro Abyss having those cards, Abysscraft is definitely hurting, especially in this mid-range, and Vampires definitely doesn't have the support for it to be tier 2 yet, especially in Vampires. You're spawning your little vampire bats, they're 1/1s. You do have Precious Blood Fangs to match how many vampire bats that your opponent has to how many you can get. You can buff them up with also Precious Blood Fangs. It's very nice. The Vampiric Castle, I think that's what it's called. The Vampiric Fortress, excuse me, helps you look for any of your vampire cards. So, seeing the cards isn't too bad, especially if you make it more tribal with more vampire stuff. But yeah, it's gonna be in tier 3 for me, personally, because there's just not enough support for it. But if we get more vampires, we can definitely move it up. So, fingers crossed for that. Moving on, we have Rose Queen Forestcraft. Now, this version of Forestcraft really relies on being in the late game, and Forestcraft definitely has tools for that, especially with Archer and Elfchild May, which are cards you're still running, along with Ancient Elf. So those low bodies that ping those early game bodies for like 1 or 2, especially with Archer and Evolved Archer, and you dealing with 2 things, it'll help you get there. So I'm between 1.5 and 1. I'm gonna give it 1 because Forestcraft definitely has the tools to get there. It's just if you draw into it, you're definitely in a good time, and Forestcraft draws a whole bunch, especially after Thornburst if you haven't already killed him the Rose Queen turn. And with Nature's Guidance and Harvest Festival, yeah, you're drawing a whole bunch of cards. So you'll definitely see your answers, along with Ancient Elf. So Rose Queen version of Forestcraft will be in tier 1. I don't know why I keep saying set 1. But tier 1 for sure, because it has the tools to do what it needs to do. Lastly, we have Titiana's Sanctuary. So this is the version of the deck that does the buff fairies. You use the Blessed Fairy Dancer along with Titiana's Sanctuary to buff up your fairies, and they're sitting in the back line ready to come out and be like, so you're basically giving your fairies steroids, your pixies fair steroids. Basically you can make them 5/5s for 1, and especially 5/5 for 1 is definitely a problem, because that's like 4 attacks, four of them, which are that can sit in the back line and just look at you as you're buffing them, or they're on the field and then you buff them while they're on the field, and it's just 3 3s coming at you, 4 4s coming at you, and you have to commit your own bodies into getting rid of the fairies, and you're just like, why is this fairy just like a problem? And then that on top of Arya, it's definitely a problem. But the only thing I have a problem with for Titiana Sanctuary's version, the buff fairies version of the deck, is that you don't really have a late game winner. You can probably throw in the wolf and make it better, but you don't really have any good late game. Probably you could Silver Bolt, but that's like 7. And you could definitely fill it up with the normal Forestcraft things to draw and whatnot. But there's just no guaranteed late game. And if anybody has like a board wipe, because I think the highest number you can get your fairies is 5, thinking of the combo. So I'm just gonna use Runecraft as an example, since I love Runecraft so much. Golem deals with it. And after you fail once, setting up like that again is very, very hard. So after you trip like that, it's very hard to get back up on your feet. But I'm gonna give it some good credit, and I'm gonna put it in 1.5 because those fairies it feels like aggro. It feels like aggro, or it's like a gate between aggro and OTK. And it's very, very hard, to pinpoint. I sound crazy even saying it, but buffing up those fairies and then shotgunning them like that is very, very powerful. So I'm gonna put Titania Sanctuary in 1.5. And that is it. This is the tier list. I hope you guys had a fun time sitting here listening to me talk about these decks. I love you guys so much for tuning in, and make sure to comment what you think should be changed, or what you think about what deck needs to go and where. Because this is my personal opinion. I'm gonna say that again because I know I'm probably gonna get grilled like a cheeseburger giving my opinion out like this, but this isn't too bad. I love you guys for staying this long, and make sure you're safe in whatever you do, and whatever you do for the rest of the year. I hope to see you guys in the next one, and please stay safe. Bye.
I gave you all my love, baby, my heart is cold when you're around. You warm it up, liquid gold, baby, yeah, you warm it up, liquid gold, baby. And my affection, all that paper you wasted, take my love and turn it to hatred. That's a swarming, not mistaken, that liquid gold you've been making.